So Brenda, what are some of the special challenges or challenge to you or expectations of the Generation Y that you're expecting as it relates to funding and obtaining them and the retention of that particular workforce?
But where's your cutoff for Generation Y?
Oh, not me. Let's say you're 20-something.
Okay, so I think you see a differentiation somewhere probably around late 20s at this point, where people older than that are often more motivated by doing something special, individual, doing something exciting. I think people younger than that want to say they're part of something more. So I had friends, I helped get positions at DIA, actually someone who interned here at IDA, who was very happy to be part of that cyber team. That's what he wanted to do first. People I went to school with, for instance, wanting to really be like, I want to be on this team at NSA or something like that, sort of a one-off position versus a career perspective. I think on the private sector side, you're seeing more perks, not necessarily on the salary per se. I think they probably pay somewhat higher, but not substantially higher overall. But you know, if you want to bring your dog to work, good luck bringing your dog into the Pentagon. You're seeing that at more and more places where people are getting those job perks you see in private, but not in the government side. I think you also get a lot of training. I'm not familiar on the government side specifically with that, but when you go out of school to large corporations, right, big four accounting firms, big consulting firms, probably big defense contractors, the first 2 to 3 years you're there, they send you to training constantly, right? You're going to learn these skill sets. We're going to figure out if those skill sets apply to you or not, and everyone is learning more and more all the time. And so as they get further, they can then reassemble teams that make sense rather than, well, this person went and took night classes, or, well, they completed their annual training, so we checked the box, and let's put them with other guys who complete. Right, and so you get much more of a cohesive team sort of thing, which I think we've seen on the government side, especially in the military, like a special operations perspective is good, where those guys don't quit, right? They don't quit because the guy next to them might die if I'm not there. We don't have that same thing on a cyber team, right? There's no reason to not quit my job and take a better job that's a little better paying across the street or you know, down the street at the contractor, because that guy's gonna, you know, do the same thing tomorrow, and maybe I'll pull him over if he's my buddy later. So I think we could do some work on that sort of retention of doing really exciting things, doing things where we've really created cohesive teams so that the teams migrate through a career path together, things like that.
Well, that's one thing that we've been working on at the department is to, when we talk about that mission, the mission space, we try to bring the wow factor of the mission space. So sort of like what Rob was talking about when they brought Matt in, Matt having the opportunity to work on that CERT team and seeing something cool, having a career that opened up a different spectrum for him other than just being on the NIC side, on the NCIC side, talking about it, actually being boots on the ground, hands on the keyboard, actually executing in that space. At the department, we do have, I would say, cool jobs. I don't think we do a very good job of communicating the fact that we have those cool jobs. So one of the things that we're trying to get better at is to let people know about what activities are actually taking place in the department as it relates to those cool jobs and things that we hope will attract students to want to be a part of the DHS cyber workforce, and also attract others who may be in different stages in their career if they want to be a part of a mission such as ours at the department.
Can I just add to that? I think our first year, I don't know if you remember this, but the first year of our cohorts in the CyberSkills volunteer initiative, we had a community college student from the Buffalo area working with the ICE lab in the Buffalo area. So she got to work with them, help in the case, and she got to go with them when they went to the house and took the guy down. She was so excited about the fact she had been involved from beginning to end on this case. She was sold. Right? And that's what you have to do. Is I think those kind of opportunities will keep people there.
Definitely. You can talk about it all day, you can read about it, but it is nothing like being there firsthand. One of the things that we have constantly in the Cyber Student Volunteer Initiative is that we try to end it around September, October when the students go back to school. You would not believe how many students ask, can I stay on? Is there any way I can stay on? Because they are a part of something that they are enjoying being a part of. And I think that's key to being able to build that workforce.
If I could add on to that, about a year and a half ago, 3 of us from IDA did a study. We visited several universities and colleges throughout the United States, and I came away impressed on what was going out there. But we saw in some cases where a university or a college had set up a relationship with a federal agency, and there was a give and take on resources, but that dynamic principal investigator at that university was sort of grooming the candidates he thought would be good for that federal agency. Now, the person could go anywhere, but there was a commitment there by the school to make that happen. And that was a great first vetting of viable candidates for the federal government. So that might be one way to go.
So I was part of one of those programs, the CyberCorps program at GW, which is focused on that. And it's a great program. I mean, I've kept in touch with a lot of those people and watched them throughout government and private and some back to government careers. I'd love to see those expanded. I think they went from something like 19 schools to 70. And I'd almost prefer to see more money at each school because I think you reduce the percentage that's spent on overhead for each school and just generate a lot more of those people.
Could I ask how many students are in a National Science Foundation scholarship or a DoD IE scholarship? Okay. I won't ask any questions, but I think that is a great program. And what we saw at a lot of these schools where the scholarships were, the schools had set up a team environment for the students, even though they may have different classes and things, but there was group activities and they were a cohort, they were a real true part of the team. And we brought that back and told the DoD CIO, some people there, that maybe the DoD needs to start looking at bringing them in and making them feel part of a team as part of that mission. If you go to NSA, you're going to be part of the team in the mission. But like you say, there are some excellent jobs out there, and I've seen some of the job openings for DHS, and they're matched by what's being done at NSA. And so it's a great skill set that's needed, and it looks like a good team environment. So DoD just needs to do a better job of that throughout the rest of the DoD. Make it like a team coming in.
Rob, how might the competition of scarce IT and IA talent between the private and the public sector be managed a little bit better?
So I think a couple ways. I think one is to get the missions out to the private sector so people understand it's not just that you can do cool jobs at DHS and NSA and DoD, it's that you can do jobs there that you can't do anywhere else. In the case of NSA, at least legally, right? If you actually want to do that it's really like the only employer in town, right? In the case of DHS, mission like US CERT, being responsible for combating threats from other nation states against the US government, being responsible for cleaning up messes like OPM, for defending organizations like the White House, you're not going to get that in any other job. You're also not going to have that link back to the greater context of what you're doing, understanding why these organizations are being targeted, what they're being targeted for. So it is a really kind of selective world that you enter into that you can't do anywhere else, right? You can go to the private sector and you can do kind of the same technical skill all day long, but you're not going to be doing it in the same context. You're not going to be serving your country to do it. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is to try and borrow more from the private sector. So one of the most interesting programs I saw at the White House was the stand-up of something called the Digital Services Team. And this was after the total failure of the healthcare.gov website, right? Basically, the president and his closest staff just called everybody that they knew in Silicon Valley and said, help, right? And they got a lot of help from companies like Facebook, companies like Google, companies like Microsoft, who basically loaned them executives who knew how to manage large programs like this. And all these guys who came in, they kind of done what they'd done in the private sector for a very long time, and they made a lot of money doing it. And they were really ready for the next thing. And so they turned that sort of short-term effort to get healthcare.gov up and running into a permanent program called the Digital Services Team. And so now at the White House, there's this amazing bunch of people who have had these incredibly successful careers in the private sector. And instead of looking to launch their next startup, they're looking to come in government and see if they could fix some of these hard IT challenges, now including in cybersecurity. So I think that's a really great model. I think it's a model that we probably need at almost every single federal agency, right? 10, 15 people at the White House isn't going to scale, but DHS certainly could use probably a small army of private sector people who are looking to do the next thing.
No, I agree with everything you say. I think one barrier, though, for trying to attract talent into the Department of Defense or DHS in these type of jobs is trying to get the clearance. I hear that quite a bit. It takes a long time. Something can go wrong. You're not used to the clearance process. There could be a glitch in the system where your clearance is lost for 5 months or something like that. And you have to go through a lot to make it happen. I understand that, and a lot of people say that's needed for the job and the information you're going to be exposed to. So if you're doing reverse engineering on some Chinese or Russian malware, that can't be get out to the public, and you have to be vetted to make sure you're the right person to be handling it as part of the team. So my recommendation to the students here is, if you're looking for that, apply for the clearance, be patient, don't give up, because the payback on getting that clearance and working in the government far exceeds the pain that you go through to get that. So just persevere on that. And on the other hand, I think the government might need to loosen up some of its restrictions on the questions they have or the criteria they look at for those clearances. There's a culture out there, the counterintelligence people that do not want anyone in other than a pristine individual. So that's the challenge.
Just to piggyback off of that, when you said it takes a while to get that clearance, but stick with the process. Sticking with the process puts you in a position where you get to do exactly what Rob said. You have the opportunity to work on things that you just won't get anywhere else. Now, most of my career has been in industry. I've only actually been in the government for a little over 5 years now. And through all of those years I was in industry, even though at times I was contracting for the federal government, I thought now that, oh yeah, I really see what's going on. I see the whole picture. It's not until I was on that other side, until I actually got to see the whole picture. And it is truly amazing. The things that actually take place day to day at the Department of Homeland Security from a cyber perspective are truly amazing. And some of those things you won't have access until you have that clearance and you're on the other side. So as I said previously, it takes a while to get that clearance, but I would say stick with it because it is well worth it on the other side. So now I'd like to open the floor up for some Q&A.